Hey everybody, welcome to the That's Good Sports podcast. I'm Brandon Perna here with...
Oh, I forgot my name. Oh, just kidding. Will Keys. What's up, guys?
Will Keys. I told him today the dress code was to wear something that looked like it could be a sports bra or, I don't know. I just wanted to see a little more skin on this podcast today.
Yeah.
If you're watching on YouTube on the That's Good Broncos channel, you can see what I'm talking about right here. Will,
Not lacking any hair.
why the full body clothing today?
Brandon, do I have to lecture you on unsafe working environments?
Yes.
Come on.
This is this podcast will be immediately followed by a meeting with HR.
Yes.
Which is me, Will. So this is going to be really awkward.
Oh, fuck. Didn't think that one through.
So today, first, this podcast is on Podbean, and it will be on iTunes too. It only took me a fucking week and a half to figure out what was wrong and why it's not on iTunes, but it should start populating on iTunes soon. So make sure you subscribe to the podcast or whatever. If you're watching on YouTube, we're going to keep putting it here, so you can consume it here, but you can download the podcast on Podbean. And we're going to get it up on that'sgoodsports.com pretty soon, where Will is writing articles almost every day. We're posting videos there, so make sure you check out that'sgoodsports.com. And today, for the podcast, we're talking about Demarcus Ware getting hired with the Broncos, Case Keenum and DaeSean Hamilton at practices, World Cup coming to Denver. Then we got a little Andrew Luck, Julian Edelman, and Will's hate rankings. Which teams are the most hated in the NFL, starting with the least hated. He posted that article on the website. I think it's pretty funny, and I'm excited to talk about why we don't hate, the certain teams that top this list. So we'll get to that in the podcast as well. So that's kind of what we're going to talk about. Right, Will?
That's right.
Have you learned anything this last week about football or life? Any solid advice for the audience right now?
Find a hobby during the month of June, I think, is what I've learned, because there's nothing going on in sports, especially if you're not really a soccer fan like myself. And, the NBA Finals didn't really give us anything special. It was kind of, a repeat of last year. So really got to find something to consume your time during the month of June, because my God, there's nothing going on.
Right. And I should point out, I predicted a sweep and it happened in the NBA Finals. Soccer. Yeah, I'm not a huge soccer fan. I've enjoyed it when I watched it, but
yeah,
right now you're right. June's like the time to try to relax. It's really hot up in my office. That's why I'm wearing scantily clothes. And Will and I noticed we both have.
That's why
we both have Mile High Stadium posters.
True. Take a look.
Look at that, kindred spirits right here.
Yeah. Okay,
so let's start with the first thing, which is that the Broncos did hire Demarcus Ware part-time as a pass rushing consultant. And they did that basically because they don't have a pass rushing or like an outside linebackers coach, right?
Yeah, I guess so. That kind of seems like what it is. I mean, it's hard to say anything bad about this move. I mean, I think it's like the one thing you could do where, everybody's on your side with that. Like, who could object to hiring Demarcus Ware to any position?
That's true. I mean, maybe his family, because now he has to fly between LA. I think he's got to be living in LA because he's doing the NFL Network stuff.
Yeah.
To Denver. Maybe he still has a home in Dallas. I don't know, but I would hate to have to fly somewhere every month back and forth. That's the biggest downside, and it's just an inconvenience for him. But I think the Broncos defense will be better because of it. Demarcus Ware is, outside of a great pass rusher, he's a great leader. So I think just having his presence there will be good, especially for, the young guys. I think he can help Bradley Chubb quite a bit. Chubb's going to learn a lot just from working with Demarcus Ware and Von Miller. Both very effective pass rushers, and I think both guys, their technique and the way they did it is a little bit different too. And so I think Chubb's going to kind of have to pick the things he sees from, what Demarcus Ware does well, what Von Miller does well, to try to implement into his game. Because with the Shane Ray injury, which we talked about a little bit last time, like Chubb's going to be, he's going to get even more playing time than I think maybe, he was even expecting. So, yeah, you're right. It's a good thing. It's a win. Who knows how effective it is, but I think we can probably leave it at that.
Yeah, it seems like it's going to be a good move. I like the idea that you have 3 generations of pass rushers in the building. Like you got Demarcus Ware, is like the grandfather of the pass rushing group, and then he's like the patriarch. And then you have Von Miller, who's the dad, obviously, and then Bradley Chubb, who is his son. So you got like 3 generations.
Yeah. Do you follow Demarcus Ware on Instagram?
No, I don't.
Well, like most players or former players, he posts a lot of videos of him working out. His Insta stories are him still just being super jacked and in amazing shape. He can jump he can jump 10 feet into the air. And yeah, maybe I don't think he's done this recently, but for a while there, he kept posting weather updates as his photos. And it was just your iPhone app, saying, hey, it's going to be 86 degrees in Dallas today or Los Angeles today. And I loved Demarcus Ware, but those weather updates were unnecessary. And I don't know what compels you to be like, you know what? I'm going to deliver the fucking weather today. Yeah. Not only was I a former linebacker, but I'm your goddamn weatherman from now on.
Demarcus Ware, part-time pass rushing consultant, part-time meteorologist,
right?
Part-time workout warrior. It's yeah, Demarcus, this would be fucking awesome if I lived in either Denver, Dallas, or Los Angeles. But since I don't, I'm going to go ahead and skip through your Instagram story, pal.
And didn't have that app already on my phone.
Yeah. I would love to meet the guy who just doesn't have the weather app installed on his phone.
Yeah, I
won't be needing this.
I think it's when people take pictures of their tweets and then post those on Instagram.
Yeah, it's just
that's a no-no.
Shameless self-promotion.
Let's move on to the next thing here because I think this is actually kind of interesting. So bring it up.
Yeah, so Case Keenum was talking to the media after minicamp, and he was talking about DaeSean Hamilton, who's the rookie wide receiver out of Penn State, and he had some kind words to say about him. He said that DaeSean Hamilton doesn't act or play like a rookie. Brandon, does this hurt his chances to win Rookie of the Year, do you think?
Does it hurt his – yes. Yeah. Because they're going to look at him and they'll say, he's not a rookie. Yeah. Clearly, he doesn't play like a rookie. We can't award him Rookie of the Year.
He's not eligible.
No, I think this is was he specifically asked about Hamilton, or did he kind of bring it up on his own? Do you remember?
Oh, I have no idea. I'm going to say
he was asked about it?
Probably. I think he was asked about the wide receivers, like Cortland Sutton and DaeSean Hamilton. He was asked about the young wide receivers.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I remember.
I did a whole video about how I think Hamilton will be maybe have the biggest impact of the Broncos rookie offensive players.
Yeah.
I think what he does well fits into the Broncos' greatest need, which was slot receiver. I think they have Emmanuel Sanders playing in slot, at least practicing there. So I think the Broncos' intentions are to get Cortland Sutton onto the field with Demarcus Thomas as much as they can with Emmanuel Sanders in the slot. And if they're doing that a lot, that's going to hurt Hamilton a little bit. But for my money, I would try to get Hamilton onto the field as much as possible. I think he is the most ready to play in the NFL because of his skill set. So I think if Keenum seeing that and knowing what Keenum did last season with Adam Thielen, I think whoever does land in that spot is going to have a huge role. And I think Keenum's going to go to that slot receiver quite a bit. So I'm excited. I'm high on Hamilton. Who the fuck knows how it's going to play out right now? Like the depth chart, he's listed behind fucking Isaiah McKenzie as the slot receiver. I don't know if that just hasn't been updated or if I'm not paying close enough attention. So we'll see what happens. Like, it's so early. I don't want to judge until we get into fucking preseason and actually see some of these guys play. But I'm excited about the ball catchers. I think Sutton and Hamilton are big upgrades. And, of course, Jake Butt has to be – like, we have to have a tight end who's catching passes and making plays, and I think Butt's going to have that chance. So that whole group is going to be interesting to watch, especially with the quarterback who I'm assuming is going to throw it to them more than the fucking defense. So
yeah, that would be preferable after last year. But yeah, I kind of broke my rule and got sort of excited about some minicamp stuff this morning. I was reading like Andrew Mason's notes from. I know.
Stupid.
I was reading his notes from yesterday's minicamp, and apparently Jake Butt caught like a couple of touchdowns, and Cortland Sutton had a ridiculous one-handed catch like he did at SMU a number of times. So I'm getting excited. I shouldn't, but I'm getting a little excited.
The exciting thing is, like, the Broncos have a quarterback now in Case Keenum who's going to get them the ball.
Yes.
Even if he's under pressure, he's going to get the ball to his receivers. I think we've talked about how he extends plays, and the way he does it is a positive. He's not extending plays and then throwing picks. So that, I mean, the Broncos offense should be more exciting this year, even if the offensive line's still kind of shitty. Keenum's used to playing with that, so we'll see where that goes.
So speaking of the wide receivers, I was thinking about how the depth chart is gonna kind of take shape this season with, obviously the first two are pretty much as set in stone as you can get. But behind them, it's pretty much all up for grabs.
Right.
We kind of heard some reports that Carlos Henderson's kind of on the hot seat despite not ever having played a regular season game in Denver and being 1 year removed from being selected in the third round.
He didn't even get to sit on the cold seat. So
yeah, it's true. I kind of feel bad for him. He missed all of last year with an injury. Yeah, it's not fair.
Yeah, I think we kind of touched on this. Obviously, you got DT and Emmanuel Sanders, right? And then it really depends on how they use Hamilton and Sutton. And I fully expect those to be the next two guys in the order there. You could make a case for Jordan Taylor, but he's coming off of hip surgery, double hip surgery. So I think I think this has to be almost a recovery year for him. I'm not even sure he'll make the team because of those surgeries. It's not like, Matt Paradis did double hip surgery last year, but the way you're having to move your body if you're a center compared to a wide receiver where speed and burst and all of that is, you live and die on those things. And then that leaves you with Isaiah McKenzie and Henderson. And between Hamilton, Henderson, and McKenzie, and if Emmanuel Sanders ends up playing slot, like that position all of a sudden becomes crowded. And Hamilton can play slot, and he can also be your outside guy. So I think Henderson or McKenzie, one of those guys, isn't going to make the team, and it's looking more like Henderson just because Isaiah McKenzie is still technically their punt returner. And so which none of us want to see, obviously.
No.
I think Brendan Langley has to fight for that as well because he's like the only other guy on the roster who has college punt returning experience. And Jordan Taylor looked like the most sound punt returner last year, but again, his injury affects that. So I think it's too hard to predict how that depth chart shakes out right now. We're going to have to wait and see who's healthy and kind of what Billy Musgrave does with the lineup, the first couple preseason games.
Yeah, I'm kind of worried about Jordan Taylor just because I think he was kind of Simeon's main go-to guy and that's kind of what kept him on the roster last year. Even though he didn't have a particularly great year, they had some pretty good chemistry. But now that Trevor Siemian's gone, he doesn't really have a huge connection with anyone on the roster anymore. As far as punt return, I want to give Isaiah McKenzie another year just because, stuff happens your rookie year and you're going to make mistakes. And he made a lot of them, both in special teams and then on offense in that Redskins game late in the season.
Right.
That was pretty tough to watch. But you'd like to see him get another chance, ideally. Would I rather see him get another chance and then Carlos Henderson is shown the door? Probably not, because Carlos Henderson didn't get a chance really to begin with.
No, I mean, that's the thing. That's why it's so tough being a rookie is your future success in the NFL hinges on so many factors that are outside of your control even. Did Carlos Henderson, did he do any punt returning in college? I tried to look into that.
I know he was a kickoff returner.
Kick returner, okay.
He returned a few kickoffs in the preseason last year. Okay,
yeah. I mean, I think for him to make the team, he's going to have to prove to be valuable on special teams. So, because he was, before he hurt his hand or wrist,
I think it was his hand.
He was having trouble catching passes last year. He was dropping a ton in practice. He dropped, I believe he dropped him in the preseason games. So he was already facing an uphill battle just based on his performance. So preseason is going to be huge for guys like him.
Oh yeah, no, it's going to be like one of the main battles to watch. Kind of like to see who ends up on the fringe and who ends up not making a team or maybe on the practice squad. But yeah, it sucks. Like, we expect wide receivers especially to come out and make a huge impact right away.
Right.
That doesn't happen all the time. Like, Demarcus Thomas wasn't Demarcus Thomas until like the second half of his second year. And what if, like, after his rookie season, we were just like, you know what? We have Brandon Lloyd. Demarcus Thomas seems expendable. Let's trade him for like a 4th-round pick. Like, you got to let these guys like get a little bit of time under their belt, especially if they have injuries to keep them out the whole season. So I'd like to see Carlos Henderson get a shot. It's
that, and then it's that the Broncos had 3 different quarterbacks starting throughout the year. They ditched their offensive coordinator. Like, there's a lot of things that were recipes for disaster for the offense last year. So, assuming that the offense is decent this year, I think you'll get a better evaluation of some of those guys behind, DT and Sanders. And especially since this is, I would, bet a lot of my money, which I don't have a lot of, that this is Sanders last year in Denver for sure. So, one of those spots is going to be wide open in 2019 for a guy to take over. So it'll be interesting.
I think the team's hoping that, Cortland Sutton's ideally going to be that guy. But you know what? You never know. And guys come out of the woodwork. So that's one of the fun things about, watching how the roster unfolds. But we have one last piece of slightly Broncos-related news.
It's more just Denver-related news.
Yeah, okay. But so obviously – the World Cup in 2026 is going to be held in North America. 10 games in Mexico, 10 games in Canada, 40 games in the United States. One of the places that is in the running to host one of those games is Sports Authority Field at Mile High in Denver. Yeah, so it's not just the city of Denver. It is the stadium that's on your and my wall. So
okay, well, the real question is, what the fuck is going to be the name of the stadium in 2026?
That's a good question. I have a feeling it will not be Sports Authority Field.
Who's going to be president of the United States in 2026? Because let's see here. It definitely won't be Trump, because even if he got reelected, his term would be over by then, right?
Unless he repeals an amendment. I don't remember which one.
Right. No, I believe he said he wants to do that.
I'm sure he does.
So the world's going to be a different place in 2026.
Yes.
Sports Authority Field. Well, wait, yeah. Sports Authority Field will be called something completely different. Again, I don't know anything about soccer. I don't even know what their chance of playing in the World Cup at that time will be. Well, I mean, shit, that's 8 years away. So there's like 12-year-old kids out there right now who are going to be playing in that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's tough to think about as far as like what I was doing at age 20 versus some 12-year-old kids, what they're going to be doing in 8 years. My God. But yeah, are you going to be like one of those Coloradans that gets upset that there's a bunch of tourists in his city?
No. I mean, the city's already fucking overcrowded and traffic sucks and a lot of things that like you used to love about Denver are changing. So you just get used to that stuff. I don't know how crazy like it will get with tourists. 2026.
Soccer fans are pretty crazy.
I might be living in the White House in 2026. So
you know what? I didn't think about that.
Travel will be pretty easy for me. What do we take in Air Force One to wherever I want to go? Black Hawk One? I don't give a shit about what's happening in Denver when I'm president. I'm going to officially announce right now my candidacy for 2026 presidential election. Start writing me in on the ballots, guys.
You heard it here first. Who's your vice president?
That's breaking news. Vice president?
Yeah.
Peyton Manning.
Okay.
Easy.
All right. We'll have to get in touch
I'll probably be, leaning more on the liberal side, and I want to have fair balance. And I know Peyton Manning leans, on the conservative side. He's got name recognition, which you could argue is better than mine right now, but I think that'll change over time. And he'd be a good candidate.
Yeah, well, he'll have to give up some pizza franchises to avoid any conflicts of interest.
Right.
So good luck talking him out of that.
It's either Manning or Oprah, one of the two.
That's a murderer's row of candidates.
Maybe Beyonce.
You know what? You're just covering all bases here. Beyonce, Peyton Manning,
Oprah. I could do well in politics.
Yeah, I think definitely. So we'll have you running against Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson in 2024.
He could be my vice too.
If he wants.
Okay, let's move on to the NFL. News outside of Denver and the Broncos.
Yes. First item of business, E3, the video game festival press conference thing, was this week. And for EA's presentation, they announced, drumroll, Madden 19. Who would have thunk that Madden 19 would be coming out just a year after Madden 2018? Brandon, Your thoughts?
Wow. I mean, it's shocking news that they are continuing to make more games.
Yeah.
I think the funny thing is that they put T.O. on the special edition cover, and he's not going to go to the Hall of Fame induction. So that's kind of weird. Did they announce he was going to be on the regular cover? I
don't think so. It's probably just going to be another Patriot. Yep. So I'm sure we'll have Rex Burkhead on the cover. Possibly Alex Guerrero.
Yeah, remember when Peyton Hillis got the cover for the Browns?
That was a bizarre timeline.
Yeah, Josh McDaniels comes in, gets rid of Peyton Hillis, Tony Scheffler, Brandon Marshall, Jay Cutler, everybody that the fans fucking loved in Denver, all gone.
Got rid of Barrel Man, killed Barrel Man. That was his first order of business.
Fucking Josh McDaniels, man.
Yeah, made all the concessions, higher prices. But yeah, Madden 19. I know you play a little bit of Madden, right?
I haven't played I did, but I don't play video games anymore. I don't have any time.
That's too bad.
Used to play Destiny, used to play Halo. Those are really the only ones, and now I play none.
I've been playing a little bit. Yeah.
Sometimes my Xbox just turns on for no reason. I'm like, the fuck are you doing, Microsoft?
Do you have the voice command? Is that it?
I don't have it plugged in.
Oh.
Maybe. Xbox on. Yeah. Didn't turn on. I think sometimes Bill Gates just trying to spy on me.
Yes. Well, spying on a future president seems like a
now it makes
lucrative
sense.
endeavor. He knew that you wanted to run for president before you knew you wanted to run for president.
Right. Just like Bill Gates knew that Andrew Luck was going to start throwing footballs again.
That's a segue, folks.
Boom. Look at that.
That's a segue.
Because they're literally maybe some of the biggest news this week was that Andrew Luck started throwing fucking footballs again.
That's where we are in the offseason. I wrote like a 700-word story on Andrew Luck picking up a football and then throwing it in a spiral formation, and Brandon has left the podcast.
Yes,
he's back.
Oh, look, it's even a Broncos football. This is what Andrew Luck started throwing again.
Yep. I think it was like a college football too. I don't even know.
They said it was smaller or some shit, or like a high school football.
Yeah. Didn't even throw a real football. Otherwise, breaking news. Andrew Luck's a quarterback again. But
it is.
Yeah.
It's crazy though that his shoulder got so fucked up that it's been, 8 months since he had thrown a football, and even then, like last year, he tried to throw a few, and was like, nope, this isn't fixed yet.
Yeah.
So it's really like been a year and a half or 2 years since he's thrown footballs. He hasn't thrown any competitively for two full seasons. Has he been out?
No, I think he played at the end of 2016, if I remember correctly. Okay. Yeah, he missed most of 2015 though.
Okay.
Remember, we lacerated his kidney.
That's
maybe on purpose, for beating us.
That game sucked.
That was a terrible game. That was the Aqib Talib.
The eye poke.
Little
Dwayne Allen
game. Yeah. But my point, I think, is that people in Andrew Luck's absence, people kind of forgot how good he was.
Right.
Because 2016, they didn't make the playoffs. 2015, he was injured. But the 3 years before that, he made the playoffs every year and got a step further in the playoffs with each added year. And further to that point, terrible coaching staff. I think we can all agree. I think the Colts, although they definitely lucked out when Josh McDaniels weaseled his way out of Indianapolis and back to New England. I think Frank Reich is a much better coach, better at orchestrating comebacks too against the Houston Oilers.
Exactly. I don't know how many people get that reference, but
yeah, it was only 1992, not too long ago.
I wrote a paper about that game in elementary school.
I think I've seen that game replayed on NFL Network roughly 50 times.
Yeah, it was
it every time.
The Bills and Oilers playoff game, one of the coolest comebacks in playoff history.
Yeah, 35-3.
And Frank Reich, the backup quarterback, led him, not Jim Kelly, which many people forget.
I forgot that. And now he's coaching the Colts, and he's got Andrew Luck. And
this is how good Andrew Luck is. Okay. Ryan Grigson just got a front office job with the Seattle Seahawks. Ryan Grigson was the Colts general manager, the job he got the year they drafted Andrew Luck. So all he had to do was make one good decision, and he did in selecting Andrew Luck instead of RG3. Because after that, all he did was slowly destroy that roster by making dumb personnel move after dumb personnel move. And he was voted GM of the year because of Andrew Luck, essentially. And when you get a quarterback as good as Andrew Luck, like we realized with Peyton Manning, it changes your team. It makes them instantly better. So assuming that his arm will actually be, he can actually throw, the Colts, if he's healthy, the Colts will be a fun team to watch to see how good they actually are. I think he will pair very well with Frank Reich. He did a lot with Philadelphia. So I like that match. And that division with Deshaun Watson also coming back, from his ACL injury with the Texans, that division is going to be interesting. I mean, then there's Jacksonville and Tennessee, the two teams that were actually in the playoffs last year, right?
That's right.
I think that's got to be the most unpredictable division for this next season.
Yeah.
I think Jacksonville will win it right now, but other than that, like if Deshaun Watson's great, the Texans could be number 2. If Luck is back, that could be the Colts. I'm not the Titans, man. They have like a good team, but not anybody that's great on that team.
Yeah, but I think going from like Mike Mularkey, who's like a net negative at head coach, to Mike Vrabel, who granted is an unknown, is probably a big move for a team that already made the playoffs a year ago.
Right. Maybe. I mean, is Vrabel just going to be the next former Patriot to crash and burn as a head coach?
Probably, yeah.
Don't know. I don't know. Vrabel might end up being good, but he looks too much just like a giant meathead to me for me to bet on his success. And
he looks like your prom date's dad when you're 16, who threatens to beat the shit out of you if you get his daughter home like 2 minutes past midnight when the curfew is.
Yeah, he like crushes your hand if you
He's like you. He's like cleaning his guns in the living room when you come over.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah,
he might be great. He might be a perfect fit there. Marcus Mariota is really, I still don't know if he's a good quarterback or not.
Yeah.
And usually if you're asking that after 3 seasons, I think probably going to be average forever.
Yeah, it's weird. Like him and Jameis Winston, you can pretty much say the same thing about both of them.
Right.
Like we have no idea.
And in fairness to at least Mariota, in terms of dynamic receivers, he hasn't had that. Like their best receiver's been Delaney Walker the last 2 or 3 seasons. So.
Yeah, and Eric Decker, who's like probably running like a 5.5 40-yard dash now.
Right. And, Winston at least has had some really talented ball catchers in Tampa. So, I don't know. That division's interesting. Mm-hmm. I wasn't even thinking about that division before we, started doing this, but just like that is got to be the most unpredictable for 2019. I don't have a clue what the fuck will happen in the AFC South.
I was looking at just to kind of throw some fire onto the Andrew Luck argument and like how good he's been despite having nothing around him. The first round picks after he was drafted. So they traded a first-round pick for Trent Richardson.
Oh, the Colts,
yeah.
The Browns traded. Oh, the Colts traded their first-rounder to acquire Trent Richardson. That's right.
Mm-hmm.
Mid-season or some shit.
Maybe not a great move.
That was Gregson.
I'll just say it. That was Gregson. And then they drafted Bjorn Werner, the defensive end.
Knows, obviously.
Yes. The defensive end out of
Scandinavia,
Dusseldorf, Germany, who not quite the sack master they thought he would be. Unfortunately, he's playing in the German football league now. I think that's not true. And then they drafted Philip Dorsett, who they traded to the Patriots.
Right.
Another small wide receiver. When that was like, he's like, hey, let's draft a worse T.Y. Hilton. And he won't get on the field ever, and he'll catch like 10 passes in a season.
Yeah. Meanwhile, we have offensive line needs, and our defense. We're just going to try to improve it by signing old guys.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Let's get another year out of Frank Gore here.
And let's put him on defense.
Yes. Speaking of offensive players who have played defense, Julian Edelman. That's a segue.
Oh, he's played defense? Or did they throw him in like his corner or something?
Yeah, they did the like stupid like Troy Brown thing.
Yeah, except Troy Brown was like one of the only guys to ever be able to do that well.
Yeah, I think Edelman.
I guess Deion Sanders, you could argue, but
yeah, he was a defensive player playing offense, I think. Yeah, so he didn't just test positive for like HGH or an anabolic steroid. The test came back and it showed an unknown substance. And that's an automatic positive test. So my question is, what corner of the galaxy are the Patriots mining their steroids from?
Yeah, it's obviously not even from this planet.
No.
I think it's a combination of sniffing moon dust and drinking alien jizz would be my guess. It explains so much that these players for the Patriots are consistently performing at a top level. And it's not that they're all just physically gifted athletes. It's that they don't make mental mistakes. And for my money, I can't find a better reason than to assume that they all have alien jizz in their system. It's what the movie Independence Day, the whole plot was about alien jizz. And the Richard Dreyfuss movie with aliens, alien jizz.
Close Encounters, sure.
Yeah, Close Encounters. Cocoon, alien jizz. Dried up old alien jizz, cocooning into new things. So, I don't know. It just makes too much sense to me.
Yeah, I mean, Alex Guerrero, I'm just wondering if he, sent a team of astronauts to collect.
He is an alien.
Oh.
Guerrero is the alien, dude.
So are you suggesting that Julian Edelman collected the specimens himself?
Hey, I'm not going to say how it is extracted. I'm not going to say how many aliens are on this planet. I will say, being somewhat a little bit, more serious, that
you weren't being serious?
If you test and they're just like, we don't know what this is.
Yeah.
Where are you getting that from?
You would think the NFL has a database of every, substance known to man.
Yeah.
At this point, they take, drugs so seriously that they would have to. They have their own periodic table of banned substances.
Yeah. I mean, I think my excuse would be I don't know, I eat at Arby's a lot. Nobody knows what that meat's made out of.
Yeah, I tested positive for horse meat. I just ate at Taco Bell last week.
Right. Unknown substance. That's interesting. Look, we talked about it last time. And after I kind of defended him, saying, he's recovering from an injury, and we know, okay, HGH, the thing that it helps with is recovery time. So
yeah, and
I've also heard that the amount of players in the NFL who use HGH before, do they test for it now? They do test for it now, right?
I believe so, yeah. Because
they didn't for a long time. And so I think I heard on the Dan Patrick show that a former player said that probably 70% of players take HGH. It doesn't give you necessarily a advantage on the field. It helps you recover from injury. So any guy trying to get paid because money's not guaranteed in the NFL, all those things, it's widespread. So Edelman, I'm assuming, was taking something to try to recover from his injury, but an unknown substance means I don't know. I don't know what to make of it.
I think he may have tested positive for stickum on his hands, like Jerry Rice. It was banned for a long time, and then they clearly altered the chemical formula for stickum and injected it so he secretes it onto his hands. Instead of putting them on externally,
it comes out of his sweat.
Yes,
and
makes
Jerry
it
Rice
sticky.
Notoriously sweaty palms.
Yeah, everybody knows it. It's just a fact. So yeah, I guess the bottom line is not only are they cheaters, but they are aliens who have been extracting alien semen and using it to their advantage to win Super Bowls.
And I mean, in fairness, it's not just the Patriots. We do know that is how Nick Foles won the Super Bowl as well. So
it has to be.
None of the other Eagles, I can say, but Nick, a backup quarterback coming in, winning the Super Bowl. When's the last time that happened? Tom Brady? What's the common link? Alien jizz.
Yep, that's right. Someone better test Jeff Hostetler quick.
So please, if you've made it this far into the podcast, just please comment with hashtag alien jizz.
Yeah, let's see those. Let's see. I want to see alien jizz hashtag trending on Twitter.
I just want to see 2019 Alien Jizz, the movie.
Yeah. Presidential candidate Brandon Perna floats alien jizz theories.
This is what's going to get me elected, man.
Yeah, this is some InfoWars type shit here.
That's right.
I don't mind it.
Yeah, it is that far out there.
Alex Jones is going to be our first guest on the podcast. We're going to talk about chemtrails, gay frogs, the whole
gamut,
the whole thing, the whole spectrum. All right, so let's get to the hate rankings, shall we?
Right. Yeah, let's briefly go through your list here, because basically what Will has done is at that'sgoodsports.com, he's going to go through the 32 teams he hates the most in order. So this first article, he ranked them 32 to 25.
Correct. Yeah, so we're starting at the top for the least hateable teams. And I actually tried to do this. This is tough for me because I'm very biased, and I think anybody who has like a particular team that they root for has their own personal rankings as far as teams that they hate. But I tried to put all my prejudice aside as a Broncos fan and do this objectively and say which team is objectively the most hateable versus the least hateable.
Right, because it's kind of easy. It could be skewed in that if you're a Broncos fan, you're probably going to hate the Raiders, Chiefs, and Chargers more than the average other NFL fan. Like, I think everybody kind of hates the Raiders, but like, I don't think a lot of people have a problem with the Chargers or the Chiefs. But I know for 2 periods in my life, one when I lived in Wichita, Kansas, I fucking hated the Kansas City Chiefs more than any team, and it was because I was surrounded by Chiefs fans. And then when I lived in San Diego, the Chargers, that's when they were actually pretty good, and they kept beating the Broncos, and I would go try to watch games out of the bar and be surrounded by a bunch of fake-ass Chargers fans.
There's so many back then.
Because they wouldn't keep their damn team in the city. There's a lot of good Chargers fans, too. I made some Chargers fans friends, but at those times, I definitely disproportionately hated those two teams. So I respect that you were fair for this article, and it's very important.
It was tough for me.
This article could change a lot about the NFL.
I agree. I mean, I'm a professional journalist.
That's right. That's why you write for my website.
So I had to be objective. Understand, not only put my biases aside, but first I had to understand my own biases, do some self-reflection, and then cast them aside.
Okay.
So anyway, I started at 32.
32. Who's your least hated team in the NFL?
I had to go with the Buffalo Bills. Who hates the Bills? Who could hate them?
The Patriots fans.
Exactly. And thus making them less hateable.
Right. I mean, I think everybody was rooting for Buffalo to somehow keep winning in the playoffs.
Yep.
Even though we all knew like they weren't a great team, but they were scrappy. I mean, they made it there. If Sean McDermott doesn't put in fucking Nathan Peterman in the middle of their season, like they might have finished with a better record. They might have had a better seeding. I don't know.
Yeah, very easily. And you know what? Bills Mafia is obviously
fans.
One of the most impressive fan bases. They had a 18-year playoff drought that they just kind of spent setting themselves on fire and jumping through tables and getting really, really fucked up before games.
It's like the best way to be a Bills fan is to not remember that you were at the game the next day.
Correct. Yeah, and therefore you can't remember losing. So
right, and you can't hate people in pain.
No, absolutely not. So let's move on to 31. Yeah.
What did you come in with next?
I got the Tennessee Titans. Tennessee Titans are at 31. They're kind of they're not hateable. They're not immensely likable either, but you know, they're just kind of neutral, I think.
Yeah.
They've got they've got uniforms with cool blue colors, pleasing on the eye. They don't do much of anything that's controversial. I think the only reason you could hate them is because Taylor Lewan's kind of a jerk, it seems like, who's their left tackle.
He's currently holding out, I believe, right now for contract update.
Yep. And also, we'll have to check in on Mike Vrabel. We'll have to see what kind of guy he is on the sideline.
Is he going to be big, scary, mean dad, or is he going to be the cool dad that you end up liking more than the high school girl you're dating?
That's right. I just came over to hang out with your dad. Sorry,
he's cool.
Yeah, he's cool. We watch sports. He lets me cuss. Yeah, so the Titans are at 31. Marcus Mariota seems, he's a good guy, I think, by all accounts.
No, you're right. It's a likable team.
Yeah.
It's a likable team, Will.
That's right.
I think go on to 30. Who do you got at 30?
Okay. The Arizona Cardinals at 30. And that is because I think Larry Fitzgerald's still very likable.
Yeah, extremely. If not, maybe one of the most likable players in the entire NFL.
Yeah. I think
he's old, he's still good. And anytime you listen to him talk, you're like, yeah, I like that guy. I like Larry Fitz.
He's a good guy. The only thing you could possibly strike against him is that he advertises University of Phoenix, which is a for-profit university. So, interesting move there. Interesting choice of sponsorships by Larry Fitzgerald.
And I think wide receivers, too, in general, are kind of like the hardest player position to get behind because they're sort of the divas of the NFL, the guys who crave the most attention, kind of cause the most problems on the offense for chemistry and shit. So, it's not like he's playing, I don't know. I think being a likable receiver makes it even a little more noteworthy.
Yeah, it's not like he's like a likable left guard where everybody likes your team's left guard generally, unless it's like Richie Incognito.
Right, yeah, exactly.
But yeah, and then if this was 2 years ago, and this was like right after All or Nothing, they might be 32 because I think everybody watched that series and was like, wow, I like this team. And I like Bruce Arians. But Bruce Arians obviously has retired. We're not going to see his Kangol hat on the sideline anymore. Steve Wilkes, though, seems pretty likable, I think.
I like that in Will's article, he included like the most hate-worthy for each team. Correct. So the Bills, it was LaShawn McCoy. For the Titans, it's Taylor Lewan. And then this is fair because the Cardinals could be lower on this list. Most hate-worthy now is Josh Rosen. And I like Josh Rosen. I want to see him do well in the NFL. But a lot of people don't like him. He rubs people the wrong way for whatever reason. So, putting Arizona at 30, a little risky, especially with Bruce Arians being gone. Like, he was Mr. Cool.
They could easily jump up this list. I might have to update it, depending on a few factors. But, yeah, I actually like Josh Rosen, too. I like that he speaks his mind. I think he's kind of refreshing as far as, NFL players that, don't just give canned answers to everything.
Yeah, I think people like players that speak their mind until they speak about something they don't agree with.
Yeah, which, I'm sure he's done at some point to piss off a lot of people.
Right.
Also, I heard from, firsthand experience that people from UCLA didn't really like him very much.
Yeah, I also heard that he was a bad kisser at UCLA, so take that for whatever it's worth.
He also had a hot tub in his dorm freshman year.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I really don't like about him.
It wasn't a time machine, so.
No. Fuck you for having a –
if it was a hot tub time machine, 100% awesome.
That's
Dude, are you kidding me? If you were in college and you could have a hot tub in your dorm room, you would have done it.
No, I absolutely would have, but it's pure jealousy.
Oh, okay. Fair enough.
I'm not – that's where, most of the hate stems from. It's not saying, I wouldn't. It's just,
jealousy,
fuck you for actually being able to do it.
No, I respect that you admit that.
Yeah. 100%.
Okay, so 29. Who's
29.
29?
The Minnesota Vikings. They came so close to being the first team to host a Super Bowl in their own stadium, and they fell short to the Eagles in the NFC Championship game. It was basically a metaphor for their whole history. They've been so close so many times, and they fell a little bit short. Their fans are nice. They're all Minnesotans, so they're nice. They're polite. They talk like the people from Fargo. They did that skull clap with Case Keenum at the end of that divisional game.
Skull.
What's not to like? Maybe the Saints don't like him very much, but that's not enough to get them any higher than 29 on my rankings.
Right. Well, how many times have the Vikings lost 4 Super Bowls? Are they 0-4 in the Super Bowls? Because they were tied with the Broncos, right, for a long time with most Super Bowl losses? Or they were ahead?
They lost to the Chiefs, in 1970, and they lost to the Steelers twice in the 70s, and they lost to the Raiders in 76.
Impressive memory there, Will.
Yes, I remember those games very clearly. Not much to hate about them.
No, I mean, I remember watching like old NFL films, VHS tapes at my grandpa's house, and like the Purple People Eaters and the Vikings, like history of losing. And then the Broncos passed them when they lost to the Seahawks in the Super Bowl with the 5 Super Bowl losses. So you're right. They're notorious. They're underdogs. Kirk Cousins probably – I mean, he's so vanilla that I would say he's probably a likable quarterback, so that might help him a little bit. Although I think Case Keenum, more the underdog story, I would say they would be a little more likable if they still had Keenum than Cousins. That was really my main point against them, is that, you know, they got rid of their underdog quarterback for one of the most expensive free agents of all time. Yeah, and who will live as making one of the, you know, being part of one of the greatest plays in football history with the touchdown pass, you know, to beat the Saints. So, okay, 28. I got the Cleveland Browns. You might be asking, too. You could put them anywhere on this list, and I would agree with it. Yeah, pretty much. It's like they're so bad, they're so inept. Why not 32? Because you could, you know, hate them. Everybody wants to see them fucking win, I think. Wrong. I hate them a little bit because what are they doing? They're so poorly run, it makes me angry. Yeah. And I hate them for that. They're such a bad organization. They are. I mean, you have most hate-worthy as Baker Mayfield. Yes. I think he might be a solid pick for them. I think he might be the right quarterback for that team and that organization. But I also thought Brandon Weeden and Trent Richardson were decent selections. So with him in the corner they took, I can't remember his name right now. Denzel Ward. I was like, I think those are good picks. But then again, it's the Browns, and if I think that, maybe I'm wrong. So I think they probably messed up a little bit by taking Ward over Bradley Chubb, but we'll see. I don't know. That seemed to be the consensus pick, and then they kind of threw a curveball there at 4, which they have been known to throw curveballs, trading back into the first round in 2007 to get Brady Quinn, and then trading back into the first round 7 years later in 2014 to get Johnny Manziel. No, that was a decision I knew was terrible right away. Yeah, there's no waiting period there. No, but here's what we're going to do, because we're starting to run long. If you want to find out teams 27, 26, 25, you got to read his article at that'sgoodsports.com. Like I said, this is the most important list happening in football right now. So, I agree. You know, you got to see who the most hate-worthy is on each of the teams. But I think that's about it. I think we covered enough of the non-news happening in the NFL right now. Would you agree, Will? Yeah, we went surprisingly long in a week where absolutely nothing happened. I hate to see how long this podcast is going to go when we have a lot to talk about. 6 hours, possibly. Just clear out that schedule. It's just an all-day live stream. Yeah. We talk about news as it happens. 7 viewers. Right. Well, make sure you give Will a follow on Twitter at WillKey6. Again, he's writing great articles at that'sgoodsports.com. Make sure you follow this podcast on Podbean, and look for it on iTunes. It should be on there soon. And you know how that works. You got to rank this as a good podcast, or iTunes will tell us to fuck off. Yeah. That's in their terms. 5 stars. 5 stars. Leave a comment as well. They will tell us to fuck off. If you read their official terms, it says if you don't get 5 stars, you can fuck off. Too long. But it's in there. Yeah, it's on page 37. Okay, thanks for listening, everybody. We'll see you next week, unless Will or I die.